CBS News Bay Area Afternoon Edition with Ann Mekovic.
Right now on the afternoon edition, leaders in the Trump administration visiting Alcatraz and other Bay Area sites amid a push to reopen the prison. Opponents not happy about it.
With stiff competition, this is the stupidest, but it's lined up against the cruelest. They want to spend money on Alcatraz when they're taking food out of the mouths of babies.
Thanks for joining us this Thursday. This visit by Attorney General Pam Bondi and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum comes 2 months after President Trump announced plans to reopen Alcatraz as a federal prison. Our Kevin Coe live right now at Fort Baker. Kevin, that is where both Bondi and Burgum both landed after visiting Alcatraz. Did they have anything to say to you?
Yeah, and they didn't. Neither Attorney General Bondi or Secretary Burgum answered any questions following their tour, but we do know from the Department of Justice that the two Trump officials are here in the Bay Area, starting the initial steps of trying to reopen Alcatraz as a federal prison. Let's show you some chopper video from where we got earlier today, where the two were touring the rock. Now, the DOJ tells CBS News Bay Area they were directing staff to collaborate on the necessary planning to rehabilitate and reopen the facility. So it doesn't appear there is a plan in action quite yet, but the door was opened by White House officials here today. Bondi and Burgum both arrived back on land and at the Coast Guard's Golden Gate Station at Fort Baker. As for why they are both here, well, the island is currently part of the National Park Service under the jurisdiction of the Department of the Interior. But the DOJ says the possible future prison would be managed by the DOJ. After leaving Alcatraz, our crew saw Secretary Burgum at the Presidio. He was visiting the Presidio Trust, the federal agency that manages the iconic park. Back in February, President Trump signed an executive order calling on the Presidio Trust to review its financing and eliminate all non-statutory functions. The trust responded, defending its operations as being primarily self-funded. The government hasn't taken any action since, until this morning, where Secretary Burgum appeared to be complimentary of the trust model.
The Presidio has done a great job. This is a model where they're using private sector tools and market tools with no subsidy, and they've achieved profitability. They got enough money. Like here, you just heard they invested $20 million of the Presidio's capital back into this Tunnel Tops project. But I think they're a great example of how we can do a great job of collaborating with tools to help manage federal resources.
And on one hand, the reality is that Trump officials are here in an attempt to reopen Alcatraz into a federal prison. But on the other hand, when you speak with elected officials statewide, they still don't think any of this is realistic.
Yeah, a lot of talk about this just being for show, and it makes it difficult when they're not answering any of your questions. Did you get any sense on whether or not this was a realistic idea?
Not from them. We tried asking questions towards them, but I could tell you, as just regular folks who come here or are by Pier 33, I've been speaking with folks all morning, no one really understands how exactly this would work.
All right. Very good. We're going to delve deeper into that, but thank you, Kevin Coe. San Francisco's Mayor Daniel Lurie was one of the opposing voices against the potential plan to reopen Alcatraz. Here's what he had to say earlier.
They have no realistic plan to make this feasible. If they want, and I said this before, if they want to spend billions and billions and billions of dollars, we have many opportunities to provide clean and safe streets to help rebuild the economy here in San Francisco and on the West Coast.
And Governor Gavin Newsom's press office also stating today Pam Bondi will reopen Alcatraz the same day Trump lets her release the Epstein files, so never. One of Trump's toughest critics is also speaking out. You just heard from her former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi calling President Trump's push to reopen Alcatraz as a federal prison one of his stupidest ideas yet. This morning, she told us that Democrats will fight the effort they believe is meant to be a political distraction.
We will fight them every step of the way with litigation, legislation, and that. It's not that we didn't take it seriously. We were trying to save the children. And they want this to be a diversionary tactic from what they did in their stupid, ugly, cruel, nasty budget bill. But in terms of what it will take for this to happen, it ain't going to happen.
San Francisco Sheriff Paul Miyamoto joined us today on our morning edition. He said it would not be easy nor cheap, obviously, to transform Alcatraz to what it once was.
There are a number of challenges of making Alcatraz a functioning facility. I believe at the time it was operating, it cost 3 times the cost of having a land-based prison. And the challenges with infrastructure in terms of the salt water, in terms of the deterioration of that infrastructure, would make it seem something of unwise investment.
We're going to be following this story closely throughout the day. You can get the latest on our website, kpix.com, and stream updates on the CBS News app. A growing chorus of Republicans are criticizing how President Trump's administration is handling those documents related to convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. President Trump calling the controversy a hoax and calling the Republicans who are pressing the issue weaklings. CBS News' Jared Hill has more.
Mr. President. President Donald Trump, peppered with questions about Jeffrey Epstein,
I call it the Epstein hoax,
is slamming his own supporters, still requesting documents linked to the once well-connected convicted sex trafficker.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net.
3 sources tell CBS News the Justice Department fired federal prosecutor Maureen Comey, daughter of ex-FBI Director James Comey, and who helped in cases against Epstein, his accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, and most recently Sean Diddy Combs. Before the election, President Trump suggested he would consider releasing Epstein files and a rumored client list, which last week the DOJ said doesn't exist. Trump's former vice president last night on CBS News.
I just think we ought to get the facts to the American people.
Now to the spending cut package being considered by Congress overnight. Senators voted 51-48 to slash around $9 billion worth of previously approved funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting. Republicans Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins joined with Democrats to oppose that measure, sounding the alarm over the impact to local public radio and TV stations. That measure now has to go back to the House for a final vote before tomorrow's deadline. Across the Bay Area and the country today, protests against the Trump administration happening under a common theme. Organizers are calling them "Good Trouble Lives On." They're borrowing that term from the late John Lewis. He was a civil rights leader and congressman who talked about good trouble in the context of civil disobedience. More than 1,500 demonstrations are planned nationwide. All right, let's get a check on our first alert weather. As we were taking a live look across the Bay Area, you could see a multitude of sky colors. Let's check in with meteorologist Jessica Birch with our forecast.
What a beautiful day it's been. You know, yesterday was one of the coolest days this week. Now we're experiencing this midweek warm up, or this late week warm up, I should say, throughout the Bay Area. But some things are going to change for us as we head into the afternoon hours today. And you know what? Let's actually just head over to the monitor. I want to show you what's going on for us as we head outside. Daytime highs today, they're mostly sitting in the 60s along the coast and the peninsula. We're holding on tight to 80s and 70s widespread throughout our inland areas. Wind gusts today, they're going to start kicking up to around 20 to 25 miles per hour. Now, keep in mind the wind, that's going to be the big weather story for us as we head into next week. But right now, things are pretty mild, pushing in from offshore into the afternoon hours as those clouds start to retreat along the coast into the afternoon hours today, too. Now, the Climate Prediction Center is showing below normal conditions for the next 6 to 10 days when it comes to our temperature outlook. What does that mean for us? Well, I mean, widespread throughout all the West Coast, we're going to experience this, which is great relief for our friends up in the Pacific Northwest, where they've been dealing with record-breaking heat in some spots. However, we're going to see nice, cool conditions throughout this weekend's forecast and into next week, especially along our coastal areas, but our inland areas will be influenced by it too. I'll have those temperatures coming up for you in just a bit. For now, back to you.
Thanks, Jess. Now a look at some of our other Bay Area headlines. Intense flames forced people in Oakland's Chinatown out of their homes late last night. Firefighters say they were called to the corner of 9th and Madison when a vacant apartment building caught fire. Crews evacuated nearby buildings and worked overnight to protect them. Thankfully, no injuries reported. And the people who evacuated are expected to be let back in once this area is deemed safe. Oakland Fire says this building was vacant because of another fire a few months ago. Cause still under investigation.
Our small business owners are the backbone of our city. I am determined to create the conditions for success.
San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie talking this morning about his recent Permit SF legislation that he's signing. That will make it easier for small businesses and property owners to secure necessary permits to operate. The 5 ordinances are meant to drive the city's economic recovery. And while the trash strike, the Republican Services Sanitation Worker Strike continues, trash services in Newark expanded today. Substitute drivers were seen collecting trash from homes normally on the Friday route. Meantime, collection for green organics and recycling set to begin this weekend. Still ahead here at noon and streaming on CBS News Bay Area. Some Bay Area tech companies teaming up on a deal involving robo-taxis. And we are meeting a man who's giving up his own bed to give homeless people a good night's rest. He is this week's Icon Award winner. Several Bay Area tech companies are in the spotlight today. Uber is announcing plans to buy at least 20,000 luxury robo-taxis from the Newark-based car maker Lucid. It's a 6-year deal, also comes with a $300 million investment in Lucid. And Mountain View's Nuro will provide the self-driving technology for those vehicles. The companies plan to launch the robo-taxis in a major U.S. city late next year. Taking a check on Wall Street right now, the Dow is up almost 300 points. Well, most people who help the homeless go home at the end of the day. But a man in the East Bay is making the choice to give away his own bed and a roof over his own head. Sharon Chin introduces us to this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award winner.
For Vincent Panizzo, ministering to the unhoused is his life's mission. But there was a time when they weren't even on his radar.
I was a graduate student at UC Berkeley and studying ancient history. And I really didn't care much for the homeless.
Then one day,
I started reading the Bible to get some information. And I started to read the words of Jesus. And I was really surprised at what I found in there, particularly about caring for people, which I never really did before. What's up, Robert? How you doing, buddy?
he found faith and a calling. He dropped out of his PhD program to seek out the unsheltered.
God does love them and care for them, and I want to bring the light and the love of Christ to them.
In 2012, Vincent started the nonprofit Mission for the Homeless. He begins this day loading up donated groceries from the Emeryville Citizens Assistance Program. Its volunteer director Bobby Miller credits Vincent with finding folks who are too ill or physically unable to pick up the free food themselves.
At the end of the day, he has some solace in knowing that he reached some of those people who probably wouldn't have had anything to eat today.
Vincent drives his van from Fremont to El Cerrito every day and tends to more than 100 unhoused people on his regular route.
What's up, buddy?
He supplies more than food, clothes, blankets, and tents.
I have to make sure that they're okay. I have to sort of triage and see if they do they have any infections? Do they need to go to the hospital? Do they need to be taken off the streets immediately?
All right.
Do you want a tent?
Yes.
Gwen knows she's not forgotten. Somebody cares.
If he doesn't see us, he'll drive around and look for us. Somebody paid attention to you, right? Yes, that matters.
This is one of our houses.
Vincent's nonprofit also rents several homes to house 10 people he's taken off the streets.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for everything you provide for us.
They eat together like family. Eric says he was ready to give up on life when Vincent found him, gave him a tent, and offered hope.
He saved me one night. I was in the rain. I was very depressed. He's the way he turned my life around. He made me happy.
And Eric is still baffled at how Vincent could choose to live in a tent outside the house so others could sleep in warm beds.
Put himself out to put me in. It's crazy.
We have very limited space, and I'm perfectly comfortable in a tent in the backyard. All right, I'll see you later, bro. Right.
So for his mission to serve the East Bay's homeless, this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award goes to Vincent Panizzo.
Wow, pretty remarkable. You can nominate a local hero for a CBS News Bay Area Icon Award at kpix.com/icon. All right, back to our first alert weather now. Taking another live look outside. This is a view from our Black Mountain camera. And here's Jessica Birch.
Looks luscious out there right now. Those clear skies matching up with that beautiful greenery. It's a great day to get out there and get some fresh air. Winds are relatively light too compared to what we've seen in the past couple weeks, and so that's great news for any local hikes that you want to do, or if you want to save them till tomorrow. Tomorrow's forecast is looking amazing as well. Let's head up a little bit more north real fast. I want to talk about a couple things. Yesterday, Napa, Vallejo, we were sitting in the 60s there. Today, we're back in the 70s with the rest of our friends throughout the rest of wine country. So it's a beautiful day to get out there and get some fresh air. We have 80s mixed with 70s from the East Bay down into the Santa Clara Valley, kicking off this week earlier with 90s. It's actually kind of nice to see this relief where we're back into the 80s in areas like Antioch and Livermore. Now, for our friends along the coast, we're still holding on tight to 60s, and that's the case as we dive into this weekend. As we make our way down into the Santa Clara Valley, we'll see cloudy skies in the early morning hours, retreating back along the coast as we head into the afternoon, exposing us to plenty of sunshine, just like what we see right now from that live cam at Black Mountain. Now, we head all the way into the afternoon hours today. A couple things to note. Winds will kick up to around 20 to 25 miles per hour, but the big wind event that we're expecting happens early next week. So we're going to see windier conditions as we head into Monday and Tuesday of next week. But as we continue to look out, another thing to mention too, the Climate Prediction Center is showing below normal conditions for us here in the Bay Area when it comes to our daytime highs, and actually widespread throughout the whole state of California. I'm just fixating on us real fast. And what that means, high pressure is going to try to build its way in as we head into this weekend. That'll warm us up into the mid 80s in our inland areas by Sunday. Sunnier skies, lower relative humidity, but nothing too extreme by any means. And then we're right back down to the 70s and low 80s as we head into next week's forecast. It's a beautiful and mild setup for us right now. We've been pretty much below average since July and June for most of those months, actually, all throughout the Bay Area and especially in San Francisco. Now, in San Francisco, we're going to hold on tight to upper 60s as well as our friends over into Oakland as we head into this weekend and early next week with cloudy skies in the morning, kind of starting to break apart as we head into each afternoon.
Still ahead, celebrating World Emoji Day, the unique way one cheesemaker is marking the occasion. Well, even with some mixed signals about the economy, Americans have been on somewhat of a shopping spree. Consumer spending ticked higher last month despite uncertainty over tariffs and the U.S. economy. The latest snapshot from the Commerce Department shows Americans spent over $720 billion on retail and food sales. That is up 0.6% from May and up nearly 4% from last June. The numbers were about 3 times higher than expected and continued to surge during online sales in July. And the Swiss are celebrating World Emoji Day in the cheesiest way possible. One Swiss company created the emoji cheese. They feature classic emoji like the heart eyes, the nerd with glasses, and the yum face. That is it for the afternoon edition. Remember, we are streaming 24/7 on the free CBS News app. Just go to Live and then choose Bay Area.